I tricked you. I tricked you into believing there was a Shrek 2, and I'm sorry. Let's talk about Shrek Retold, though. We talked about it once before on 3GI show 44, I think. You can watch like a 40-minute cut of that if you're a patron for just $1. Sorry, I always gotta plug it. So, I get a lot of messages every day about people that want to do Shrek 2 Retold. Sometimes they ask for Shrek Retold 2, but I don't know what that would be. But Shrek 2 Retold, I'm not interested in it, to tell you the truth, but there are a ton of people interested in it. So, for that one psychopath that wants to take it on, go for it. I won't endorse it because I don't know who you are. I'll endorse it. I'll endorse it. But best of luck. It's not that hard. The hardest part is organization. And I'll tell you exactly how I did it. So, the real purpose of this video is a blueprint for Shrek 2 Retold if you want to do it. You just make me an executive producer or something. But basically, maybe I'll just tell you the journey of me making it. And I didn't pioneer this. I'm not the first person to do this. I kind of just, there's a ton of these. There's like remakes and reanimated projects. Sorry, I'm like sniffing boogers. Is that gross? I hope that wasn't on camera. Okay, so this is how I made Shrek Retold. Basically, it started with obviously watching the movie and dividing it into scenes. And that's where I made my first mistake. I divided it by scenes. So there was like 33 scenes, and each one was around 2 to 5 minutes long. And wait a minute, I gotta start back farther. Sorry. Rewind. 5 years ago, I tried to make Shrek Retold. Nobody jumped on board because the email was, "Hi, I'm some guy that wants to remake Shrek. Are you on board?" And no, I didn't get a single person on board. Now, fast forward to 2017, I think I started sending out emails. It was like November, December of 2017. Most of the emails were sent in 2018. But I started to reach out to people, and I was able to say, "Hi, I run Shrekfest, and I want to remake Shrek." And then I started to get people on board. So you kind of need to work up like a portfolio or kind of like a reputation so people know it's not going to be like a waste of time. Because, you know, a lot of projects fall through. So if you have a portfolio of things they can kind of look at, they'll know that you're like the real deal. Or at least that you are able to follow through with projects. So, now, I have the movie divided into like 33 parts. I started to reach out to people, and the animators quickly let me know that this was way too long of a scene. Like, even a minute is too long for a lot of animators because, you know, animation takes a long time. I don't know, I'm not an animator, but they told me that even a minute was too long. So I went back to the drawing board and I redivided the movie into like 100 parts. And that's including songs. I included songs as its own part. But then we'll come back to that. But songs are different than the orchestral score. So the movie's now divided into 100 parts. I took the movie and I edited all these little segments so that on the spreadsheet of all the different scenes, you could click the title of the scene and it would take you to a video that this was on Google Drive, and they could watch the scene, which is really important. Because I recently jumped on board of a remake project because I was like, I want to be on the other end of it. I want to make a part for a Shrek Retold, for a remake. But I looked at the Google sheet and it was just time code with no description of what the scene even was. and no video where I could watch where the scene was. So, like, am I supposed to secure a copy of the movie on my own so I can look what these time codes are? I don't know. I'm probably not going to participate in that project. Anyways, nothing against the guy doing it. It's just I kind of want to be catered to, and that's a big thing I discovered, that the collaborators want to be catered to. Because even having I made a Google Doc that had all the parts, the name of the parts, hyperlinked to the actual scene, and a description and the length of, like, a 1-sentence description of what the scene was and whatever. And it was all color coded too, where black meant it was available, pink meant it was reserved if I had somebody in mind, red meant it was claimed, and blue meant the scene was divided by shots. Because I took like 3 scenes and I went further and divided them by shots, because a lot of animators would rather do like 30 seconds. You know what I mean? No, sorry, half a second, I mean. That was more what a lot of animators were able to accomplish realistically in their free time. And those parts are obvious. It's when Shrek is discovering all the fairy tale creatures in the swamp. It's when they're escaping from the dragon. Scenes like that were done just by shot. But that wasn't enough. A lot of people that jumped on board were like, okay, which scene should I do? So what I started to do is when I reached out to someone, I asked them, I basically suggested a scene for them to do. You kind of felt it out, like, did they want to do a longer part or a shorter part? If they want to do a shorter part, then I went ahead and picked one shot for them to do. Or if they want to do a longer part, I picked a long thing for them to do, kind of based on their wheelhouse. So that's the best way to do it if you're going to do this project. Basically allow them the opportunity to look through a very detailed Google Doc with video clips so they can watch it, or give them the opportunity to say, hey, I'll pick a scene for you. Make it as easy for them as possible. And then also make it clear that I can take care of the voices and the sound effects and all that for you if you just want to do the animation. If you want to do the voices, go for it. But we'll do the voices and stuff. And so anyways, dividing the project into much smaller bits like that, I have to do a shout out to Connor Murphy. You were the person that suggested I do that. Oh, and another great thing that somebody suggested was Herbs. What is his? Yeah, Herbs. That's what he goes by. I keep fucking up your name. I call you Zach. I call you Kevin. I think I wrote the wrong name. Anyways, Herbs. You told me to make a Discord. I didn't know what Discord was, but that ended up being a very powerful tool. So if you're doing projects like this, make a Discord and invite everyone to it. That's a great idea. So we have the document, we have the Discord, the project's starting to roll. I reached out to a ton of people. Something I realized is after I emailed a ton of people and told them to pick scenes, nobody was getting back to me with scenes they picked. I didn't have like a ticking time bomb aspect to this. So, and this was the number one thing I learned in doing Shrek Retold, was act in a way that you shape your reality by your actions, and your actions are dictated by your thoughts. So what I mean by this is I reached out to a ton of people, told them, pick a scene. And they're on board, and they're like, okay, I'll pick a scene. But nobody was getting back to me picking a scene. So then I went back and I emailed everyone, and I lied. I said, these scenes are going fast. Like, if you let me know before the weekend what scene you're going to do, because I want you to get on this. And then everyone quickly picked a scene. But the secret was, the scenes weren't going fast at all. But I kept saying they were, and then they started to actually go fast, because everyone was like, oh, okay, I gotta pick. And then, now, what do I mean when you gotta act according to the reality you want? I wanted a reality where this project was like going fast. It was like moving off. It was like, it was rolling faster and faster. So I started to check my emails faster and faster. Instead of checking my email just once in the morning, I started to check my email throughout the day on my phone. And I was responding to people as quickly as I could. So as soon as somebody emailed me, I tried to email them back right away. And now the project's moving faster and faster and faster. So just stay on top of it. Pretend like the project is like kicked off the ground, and it will be kicked off the ground. So you kind of have to insert the energy into the project. It's not going to have energy on its own. You got to be the number one cheerleader for the project. You got to be enthusiastic. If you're having issues with the project, don't. This was another reanimated project, a different one that I jumped on board. I was talking to my friends, and I'm like, do you guys know any projects? I want to be in one. To date, I have not joined one because they have not met my standards. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a snob. But I jumped into this project. They had a Discord, so I jumped into the project. I was like, I'm excited. I want to be part of this. And they had an announcements thread, and the announcements thread was just them bitching. Like paragraphs of them like complaining that people aren't turning in projects, complaining that people aren't like taking the project seriously. I jumped out. I left. I was like, that is a bad sign. Like, that's like the captain. That was the coordinator of the project saying those things. That's the captain of the ship, and he's acting like that. Like, what does that tell you? So you can't be like that. You gotta be like, this is awesome. And throughout the majority of working on Shrek Retold, I didn't know if it was actually gonna happen. So, yeah, I didn't know. So I kind of kept it under wraps and stuff. And I just kind of silently worked on it. And another thing is, basically, I reached out here. I went through all my documents. My camera automatically shuts off. It's probably going to do that a million more times, so get ready for it. But anyways, there were 750 people that I sent emails to. Out of those 750 people, how many people actually responded? $405 people responded. Out of those 405 people that responded, $339 people accepted. That means I got no answer from 345 people, and then 104 people ghosted on me, because in the end, only 235 people of those 750 emails jumped on board. And then, so that's what happens. People just kind of ghost on you. This was very, 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 very common. And I thought it was weird that people will hear about the project, and the first emails I sent were like way too long. I wrote like 2 paragraphs. Don't do that. When I get emails like that, it's frustrating. I don't read those. Just send an email that's like 2 sentences. I said, hi, my name is Grant Dufferin. I do 3GI and Shrekfest. And both 3GI and Shrekfest were hyperlinked, so you could go check out the websites. So I didn't have to explain what it was. I'm remaking Shrek, and I want you on board. So those are the 2 sentences. Keep it short, keep it simple. And a lot of people enthusiastically jumped on board for the project. But then they just stopped replying to emails, and I had to do a strike system. And I had a sheet that was just for me, and it was every single person that I was in communication with, and it was in categories. It was in categories if they were interested but hesitant, in categories of they jumped on board, all these different categories. And I write a little maybe sentence to describe the relationship I had with this person, because it was a lot of people to keep track of. So it got very confusing. So I kind of had a cheat sheet. Okay, this person, they go by this alias. Oh, and another thing is, so many people had an online name that they'd go by, but then the name of their online presence, but then they had their name that they went by in their email. It was so confusing, man. Just pick a name. Just pick one name and have that be your email, your Tumblr blog, and what you go by. Anyways, that's nitpicking. So anyways, people would just kind of ghost on you. And I had on my cheat sheet, I had tallies of basically strikes. And I did like kind of like a 4-strike system. And then after 4 strikes, I kind of stopped emailing you. Sorry. But the project can't get done. The project can only happen with people who were motivated to make it happen. And if you're doing a project like this, stay on top of people. Don't just be a presence that says, okay, you're invited to the project and you disappear. You have to like always be there. You have to bug them. And I was like really upfront about that. I let people know I'm going to be bugging you. Even when people said like, oh, I can't get started on this project for a couple of months, I still would sneak into their inbox and talk about the project. Just always be talking about the project. So basically my method was on Monday, I would reach out to all and that'd be a full day of messaging people, because you don't do a form email, don't do a group email. Message every person individually and personalize it, because every relationship I had with every different collaborator was personal. I took it personally. And I'd message people and, let them know about the project, and then say things like, when do you think, if they said, oh, I haven't started it yet, say, when do you think you can start it? What about this weekend? And they might explain like, oh, this weekend, my family's coming to town. And don't only talk business. Say, oh, what are you guys doing? Or maybe I'm going on vacation. Oh, where are you going to vacation? Oh, I'm going to this place. Oh, I've been there. Make sure you do. You know what I mean? Establish a friendship with all these people and really get to know them. Because at the end of the day, I wasn't able to pay people. This was just for fun. So you have to make sure it was fun. Made sure it wasn't stressful for anybody. If there was some workload you could take off of them, take off their shoulders, jump at that opportunity. Just always make sure that it was a fun experience. And that was the number one thing I marketed this as to collaborators, was that this was just for fun. It didn't have to be cool. It didn't have to be good. It should be cool. But it didn't have to be like good. You know what I mean? Just because a lot of people were like, oh, I talk to people and they're like, you know what, I think I got too ambitious with this. I'm like, dude, this Saturday, are you free this Saturday? Yeah, get it done. Start it on Saturday with the goal of finishing it on Saturday. Just make a day that is the Shrek day, and you just take care of this project and just have fun with it. That's it. I'm only asking people to have fun with it, because I think when you have fun with a project, it really translates. And I think when you watch Shrek Retold, I would hope this is the case, is that you get the sense that this is people goofing around, this is people having fun. That's what I want to see when I watch something. That's entertainment for me, is watching somebody just express themselves creatively in whatever their medium is. So, yeah. And when you reach out to someone and you have this conversation, always let them know the next time you're going to be emailing them. Always let them know when you're going to be popping in their inbox again. So I might reach out to somebody on Monday, they respond Tuesday, and I reach out to them and I'm like, okay, cool, sounds good. I'm glad the project's chugging along. I'll check up with you Friday. Even if this is a person that said, I can't start this until next month, you still say, okay, cool, talk to you Friday. So they always know when to expect you. More importantly than they know when to expect you, they know to expect you. They know that they're stuck with you. When they jumped on board to do the project, they signed a contract that I'm going to be their friend, and I was their friend, and I'm still their friend. When I talk business like this, it makes it sound like I was using people, but I think we all had fun. Shrek Retold was one giant party. And if you're watching this and you were on the project, I hope you had a blast doing it. And so, yeah, now I covered reaching out to people, keeping yourself organized, which is good, and stay on top of this project every day. When you're eating lunch, you have your phone and you're checking your emails and you're responding to emails. You're sadistic. You're a psychopath. You're a sociopath when it comes to this project. Good, got that covered. Now, when it came down to the project being due, there was a lot of pieces that kind of slipped through the cracks. A lot of people did the wrong part. That's just the nature of the project. A lot of people, they had a certain time code of a certain part, but they did the wrong time code of that part, or they did that time code but of a different part, or they did the wrong shot. There were so many people that did the wrong shot, and I ended up getting 2 people that did the same scene, and that was perfect. That was totally cool. I would just use both those people's parts. Maybe I'd use the voices from one part, from the animation of one part. I would remix them in interesting ways. I'm gonna put on my gloves. I'm getting cold. But so what that means is I have parts that I need done. So when it came down to the deadline I set myself, and the deadline I set myself was Shrekfest 2018, which was September 3rd or something, and that was a very tight deadline because I started reaching out to people a couple months after Shrekfest 2017. So it means I had less than a year. And we did it. We made that deadline. We showed, but it was a rough cut. We showed a rough cut of Shrek Retold on the live stream. So if you couldn't go to Shrekfest, you were watching Shrek Retold on the live stream. It was rough. Why was it rough? I think there were some sound effects that were missing. And that took a very long time. So we'll get to that. We'll get to the post-production. But yeah, there was parts I still needed fulfilled. And we're getting down to it. So that is when I did an open call on social media for people to jump on board. So I would recommend messaging a ton of people. And so I had 100 parts. That means I had to message 750. So that's like, that's over 7 times the amount of parts that there were. Just expect less than a seventh of the people to jump on board. And then I had to reach out to social media. I said, hey, and I didn't announce the project ahead of time. So this is like just saying, hey, everyone, I'm remaking Shrek, and also I have some parts I need fulfilled. So these were a bunch of little parts that I need people to jump on board with. And from social media, I got 45 people that responded. And then out of those 45 people that responded, I messaged all of them. I'm like, okay, cool, here's the project. Majority of them never responded back. I think people like the idea of these kind of projects. I think they respond to these projects or accept these projects because when I pitched the project, it sounds cool. So them accepting the project is like, yes, it sounds cool. And I'm like, okay, what part do you want to do? Then it's like, it's beyond just hearing a cool idea. It's like, do I have free time? Do I have, you know what I mean? Then it gets trickier. Then that's when people start replying. But there's the people that responded and said, hey, I'm sorry, but I decline. Those people are cool. That's cool. Email, and if you accept the project, it's still cool. It's never too late. Send an email and say, listen, this actually ended up being too much work. That's totally cool. I appreciate that a lot better than just disappearing. So anyways, I think in the end there was only like 6 people out of those 45 that actually made it through to completing a piece. So thank you, people. Thank you, everyone who worked on this project. So now, a lot of the All right. Where were we? Oh, a lot. A lot of the responses I got from people when I first started reaching out is they said that the project was insane and impossible, and half of that like kind of freaked me out. Just the sheer amount of people that were saying that this was impossible. I was uh, like, should I stop? But the other part of me was like, they're challenging me. Like, this is cool. I, I really think I can pull this off. Let me at least try. But I think people got confused because they thought it was a reanimated project, which means that it's all animation. Um, and I never called it a reanimated project. I think just a lot of people that jumped on board worked on a lot of reanimated projects, and they were used to that being the way things are done. So I was like, listen, some of this is going to be like live action. And personally, when I first started doing this project, I thought the whole thing was going to be live action because that's my background. I thought maybe I'd get a couple animators, that'd be cool. But the majority of the thing was, as you can see, almost the whole thing was animated, which is cool. A lot of cool animations. Um, so yeah, a lot of people thought it was impossible. And I explained it's not a reanimated project. There's going to be some live action bits. Um, does anybody know why these cameras do that? I mean, this is a Canon T3i, and it just will like always shut off. It's really annoying. Sometimes it'll go like 1 second and then shut off, and sometimes it'll go like an hour and not shut off. I don't get what it is. People tell me it's like the SD card, but I always buy the best SD cards. Alright, anyways. Um, so I explained to them it's not a reanimated project. It is a... That was so gross. It is a remake. So I'm not using the audio from the movie. We're remaking everything. And that, I think, that actually made people more scared of the project. They're like, okay, impossible, goodbye. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't get it. Why don't you just use the movie audio from the movie? I'm like, first of all, that's like copyright. Battery died on me. All right, man, it's been warm lately, and I thought it was gonna be warm enough to shoot outside. Um, but it's kind of cold. Anyways, that's okay. I like talking about this. Where were we? I wanted to remake all the audio. A lot of people are like, just use the audio from the movie, um, which I don't get. First of all, it's copywritten. Anyways, I think I said that. And then, but a lot of people are like, do the trailer. Do the trailer for Shrek. Or or just do one scene or something. And I'm like, that like wouldn't catch my attention. Imagine on Facebook somebody shared something like, oh, these people recreated the trailer for Shrek. But what if, oh, these people recreated the entire movie? I would click, you know what I mean? Anyways, trailer could be cool. I shouldn't, anyways. Um, but, but yeah, I know, I just wanted to do the whole movie. That'd be cool. Um, and a lot of people were like, listen, a lot of the, and I should say, a lot of the animators I got were from a the Mama Luigi reanimated project, which was awesome. That's something that Connor Murphy sent me because he worked on that, and I when I reached out to him to animate, he's like, listen, a lot of people just want to do smaller pieces. I already talked about this. But he sent me the link to this. He said, this is a reanimated project that I was involved with. And as you can see, they divided it up by shots, which is a lot more manageable for animators. So I checked out the Mama Luigi thing, and this kind of opened up the world of Reanimated. I knew about remakes, like the RoboCop remake. I love the RoboCop remake, specifically, which scene, Fatal Farms. But so I watched this Mama Luigi thing, and I'm like, this is cool. This is what I should be doing. And I think it was made by somebody called Andrew Dickman. So yeah, in the description of the video, he had a Google sheet that had all the animators. So I went to all those animators. I went to their Twitters and Tumblrs, whatever they had listed, and I just messaged them all. And if you worked on Mama Luigi and I didn't email you, it is because you did not have a easy way to contact you. That's one thing that surprised me. Like, there's some people are just impossible to message. It'd have a link to their whatever, but there was just no way to message them. Like, and one thing I realized is that before I started this project, I was kind of Twitter illiterate, but after this project, I now realize the importance, if you're an artist, of your Twitter. Your Twitter is your resume in a lot of ways. Your profile and your banner is the first opportunity to showcase your style, your flair. So get a good banner image, get a good profile pic, something that shows me like, okay, this guy, he's got an aesthetic mind. You know what I'm saying? And then you should have a pinned tweet with your work. Make a reel or just a video clip of the thing you're most happy about. Upload it to Twitter. Don't pin a link to somewhere else. Oh, if you're uploading something to Twitter, always just upload it to Twitter. If it's a video and something. So upload a reel that showcases your work and pin that to the top. And then the sidebar, have your name, a little description, just I'm a girl who animates. Or you could say I'm a guy who draws. Just boom, what the fuck are you? And then have an email. So someone can email you. That is A+. You get an A+ if that's what your Twitter looks like. If you're missing something, and have a link to everything from everything. So if you have a YouTube, you have a personal website, and you have a Twitter, all on the YouTube, there should be a link to your Twitter and website. On your website, there should be a link to your YouTube and your Twitter. And on your Twitter, there should be a link to your YouTube and your website. Did I say that right? Anyways, everything, I should be able to navigate your online presence with ease. A lot of people, just don't fucking care if people message them. It seems like I'll go to their website and I have to hunt through their website. And with those 750 people that I emailed, that means there was 150 emails I had to hunt for. Some people were smart, and when I go to their website, that is the first thing you see is their email address. Yes, that is all I need. Your website, your Twitter, that's just a business card. That's the card that gives me the impression of who you are, what you do, and how to contact you. You know what I mean? We don't work with phone numbers anymore. We do email addresses. Make your email address available on everything. The email address should be in your reel at the end. It should be in your Twitter description. And it should be on your website. The first thing you see, I don't know, just make it easy. Some people, it's just so hard to message some people. I don't get it. And there's a lot of people that I try to reach out to, and there's no way. And I'd message them on YouTube. I don't think that's a thing anymore. I think they just got rid of that. But I'd be messaging people on YouTube, which is such a crappy system. I think half the people I message on there didn't see the email or see the message. what happened a lot. This happened a lot after after Shrek Retold went online. I got emails from so many people that I reached out to about this project that never replied, and they're like, "Oh, hey, man, I don't know how this message slipped through the cracks. Let me know if you're doing something like this again." It didn't slip through the cracks, dude. You saw Shrek Retold go online, and then you thought to yourself, was this the project that somebody messaged me about like 8 months ago? You went back to your email, you searched Shrek, you found that email, and you're like, shit, it is. So it didn't slip through the cracks, you ignored it, and I don't blame you. Because it's a crazy message to get. And then there is, yeah, so anyways, have your email be available. There's one person, I'm not going to name who it is, mostly because I don't remember what they were called, but they're like a prominent 3D animator. They make weird kind of 3D animations. And I try to get them involved with the project. I like couldn't contact them because I think their whole aesthetic was that they were like anonymous. You know what I mean? There's like no way to contact them and stuff. And that's cool. Like the dedication to that kind of aesthetic is cool. I can appreciate that. But then they emailed me after the thing came out because I think they knew that I was trying to message them, but I couldn't. They're like, hey, if you're doing something like this again, let me know. You know, I try to be like anonymous online, but I think this kind of project kind of encouraged me to kind of crawl out of the... Oh, no, sorry. They didn't say it from their perspective. They pretended to be their manager or something. And I wrote back, I said, hey, listen, make an email. Just get on the email train. You know what I mean? And I said, by the way, I know this is you. I know this ain't your manager. And he didn't say no. He didn't say no. I know how this works. I do the same thing sometimes. Manager. So, yeah. That's that. So that's Shrek Retold. And I see Shrek came out. That was like the night it was premiering. When we finally put it online. Oh, wait a minute. I got to talk about post-production. So, post-production. What did I do? I did a lot. Not to toot my own horn, but I basically, okay, I get ahead of myself, dude. I forgot the most important thing, the money. No, I'm just kidding. I forgot the most important thing, the rules. I created rules and I sent it to everyone when they jumped on board. And I'll tell you what my rules are. Nobody fucking read this. If you worked on Shrek Retold, did you click? I sent 3 links. There was a link to the Discord. There was a link to the sheets to pick. Sorry, there's 4 links. There's a link to everyone that was on board because that helps excite people. The people who jump on board, if they get to see all the other people, like, oh, I know this person, that helps excite them. But I also sent them a link to rules that I wrote, and I don't think anyone read it. And I quickly realized that nobody was reading this, so I summed up my rules in the email. But anyways, the rules were, there were 3 ones. Keep it PG, because Shrek is PG. It helps it keep it cohesive. Number 2 rule was keep the original pacing and emotion of your scene. And that was the most important rule. What was the 3rd rule? Maybe there's only 2. I don't remember. But keep the original emotion and pacing. That's really important. Because the way movies are storytelling, and a good story has exciting parts. It has sad parts. Has thoughtful parts. It has crazy. You know what I mean? It's like a roller coaster. So if let's say everyone that was in Shrek Retold did their scene crazy, It would just be an hour and a half of just crazy shit. But that's not what Shrek is. Shrek is, it's got like sad parts. So those need to be like sad. You know what? The emotion. Focus on the emotion of the scene. If you have a scene where Donkey is like experiencing like betrayal or something, I want to feel it. You know what I mean? If you just ignore the emotion of the scene and you're just trying to be goofy, then it's not a story. I'm not being told a story. I'm just seeing images and colors. And I think this is something we nailed, because this rule was important enough where I wrote it in the emails. Keep the original pacing and keep the original emotion of your scene. That's very important. That's what a story is. And then I also told people to keep it PG. There was some weird parts in there that weren't exactly PG. And there was a cuss. That cuss was by Jeff. Jeff, he's my buddy. He was Shrek in one of the beginning scenes where he says, "Look at me, what am I?" And then Donkey says, really tall?" And he says, "I'm a fucking ogre." I originally had that censored, and then Jeff came over. Oh, he came over because we were shooting Super Smash Tournament 6, and I showed him an early screening of Shrek Retold, and he was loving it. He got to his part. He was so excited, and then I censored the swear, and he looked at me, and he didn't like how I censored it, and he was immediately like trying to think of a funnier way to censor it. And I'm like, "Jeff, you don't like that I censored it, do you?" And he's like, "No, I don't." And I'm like, "Jeff, you can be the one cuss word. You can be the one F-bomb in Shrek Retold." And he said, "Thank you." So that's the perks of being my personal friend, is that you get to cuss. I'm just kidding. I let him do it. Why not? Shake it up a little bit. But yeah, the original pacing, the original motion, that is really important. I did not tell people that it had to be the same length as Shrek Retold, because remember what I said, the most important goal is that animators have fun. And the more rules you impose on them, it makes it less fun. So saying that your scene had to be the same timing as the scene in Shrek, that's not fun. You've just created homework. It's fun for me, but that kind of thing, to an artist, that's not fun. So I didn't say that. I just said keep it around the same length. But my plan was to, once I got their piece, I would retime it. And that's why I asked a lot of people who sent in their scene, I asked for their audio to be separate tracks, dialogue, and for most people it was just dialogue. And most animators didn't do their own dialogue. A lot of that dialogue was me and Eric one night just going in my closet, because that's where like audio sounded the cleanest. Like all the coats that I had in my closet muffled all the sound. So we went in the closet that night and just recorded all the dialogue for basically for like 80% of the movie. It was a rough. That was one of the busiest times of our lives, just because of. We talk about it in the 3GI show. Go watch the 3GI show. We talk about it. Become a patron. Pay that $1. Hear us talk about it for 40 minutes. No, but anyways. I asked people when they turned in their piece, if they had sound. If they did voices, send that as an audio track. If you did sound effects, that's a separate audio track. If you went above and beyond, did ambience and shit, that's a separate audio track. Music. So everything's different audio track. That way I could edit people's scenes. Because typically the first thing I do is got rid of their ambience track and just did one ambient track over the entire scene. So if you watch Shrek Retold, you'll notice, like, what's ambience? Birds, air conditioning from the house, wind, somebody's wind chime periodically dinging, creaking from the trees. You know, that's ambience. And all that shit is really important. So, I retimed everyone's scenes, and that made it possible if I got separate audio tracks. So, I took everyone's scene when they turned it in, and like a psychopath, I took the original scene from Shrek and I timed it so that it was exactly the same length. And I try to get it so that dialogue was at the same time. So if you watch Shrek Retold at the same time of Shrek, 90% of the time, the lines of dialogue or the approximation of the line in Shrek Retold, they're happening at the same time. And we did this for the screening in Milwaukee that we had. That was set up by Mark. Shout out to you, Mark. Micron World, I think he calls himself. Mark Peterson. He did a scene for Shrek. He did with Escape from Dragon, the puppet of Shrek. That was cool. I loved that. He made that fucking castle. That was crazy. But he had Shrek playing on a TV down in the corner at the same time that Shrek Retold was playing. And sure enough, you can see, there it is, synced up. Sometimes somebody did a scene that was so drastically different that it'll go to a different dimension for a little bit, but then it'll go right back. And even the credits are the same length. I even have the songs that play during the credits happen at the same. They switch songs at the same time. You have to realize I went full psycho when I was timing this thing. So I retimed everyone's scene, and that sometimes that meant I had to simplify their scene, or sometimes I had to extend it. I had to finesse it a lot. And then also, so that took a really long time to retime everyone's scene. And another thing is sound effects. I added a lot of sound effects. I added, like, here, listen, can you hear this? Did you hear that? My shirt is making noise. Extending your arm isn't silent. Listen. That's the sound of a gloved hand opening and closing. You know what I mean? That was my hair touching. But you get my point, right? Everything makes noise. So I went through and I added a lot of, every time somebody moved, it creates a slight noise. Somebody turns their head, a slight noise. Every footstep, I did stuff like that. There were 2 people, out of all the animators in Shrek Retold, there were 2 people that actually included noises when shit would move. One of them was Jamie Reed, I believe that was your name. You did an animated part when they're walking through the sunflower. You had the British donkey, and then Cyper 8, who did they were in the castle. Cyper 8, I have to say, you took a really long time to submit your piece, and I thought you were fucking with me. I thought there's no way you're consistently working on your piece for all these months. Guess what? He was. He created all those environments and stuff. That was crazy. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you've done this. I shouldn't do shout-outs. I'll be here forever. Everyone. But yeah, everyone did an awesome job. And I had to add footsteps. I didn't have to. I wanted to. Footsteps and movement like that. But there were a couple instances when I didn't include footsteps. For example, Rat Boy Genius's part. Shout out to Rat Boy Genius. You did amazing. Rat Boy Genius, that was an interesting one in the sense that he was one of the first people I reached out to because I've worked with him before. I love his stuff. Um, and when I first reached out to Rat Boy, um, that's when I had the scenes divided into like 33 parts. So the scenes were a lot longer. And he chose the scene with Welcome to Duloc, such a perfect place. And it was a long scene, but he accepted it. And then when I got the tip that the scenes were too long for most animators, I reached back out to Ratboy and I said, hey, listen, I redivided the scenes. Your scene is now smaller. Now you're just doing the part where the puppets are singing. And he said, no, 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 no. I want to do that full scene like I originally had. So I was like, all right. And that's the good thing about having... Oh, I forgot to say this is really important. When I first divided the scenes, I did it by scene. That's not good. When I went back and I redivided the scenes, it was like very, very short. And some of the scenes were even divided further into shots. But the scenes then averaged around 30 seconds. So a lot of it was scene, whatever, Escape from the Dragon. How cool would that be if the camera just stayed on? But anyways, I didn't. The second time I redivided the scenes, I didn't do it by scenes. I did it by beat. So, do you know what that means? It was a spot where the scene could change styles, but still flow. And also, if people were live action, they could just layer up these scenes. They could take part 1, part 2, part 3 of a scene, and then part 4 could be animated, and it would still flow. So it was by beat. It was after a point was made. There's logical breaks in a conversation, so it could be like blah blah blah, blah blah blah, well blah 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 blah, beat, blah 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 blah, blah 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 blah, blah 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 blah, beat. Does that make any? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I think I'm explaining this really stupid, but there's like logical break points within scenes where it can change style and it won't interrupt the flow. And I think we did a really good job of doing that because having this flow is the most important. I wanted this to feel like a movie. So, dividing the scenes by beats helped it flow. What else helped it flow? I think timing it exactly like the movie helped it flow because Shrek works as a movie. It flows. It's a really good story. If we just copy that as closely as possible, then we are ensured that nice story flow. So a lot of sound effects, a lot of and with the sound effects, speaking of going full psychopathic, when I did the sounds for a scene, I watched the original scene for Shrek. I brought into Premiere because that's where I added all the sound effects. I worked in Premiere. And I listened to the scene and I made notes. And I was like, okay, the footsteps are peaking around negative 18 dB. Dialogue, when they're whispering, it's around negative 15 dB. But then at one point, Donkey screams and it peaks at negative 6 dB. I made notes like that and I leveled everyone's piece. I leveled every segment in according. Dude, this camera turning off is really throwing off my groove. Like hardcore. I keep losing my train of thought. I leveled everyone's piece exactly how it was leveled in Shrek. So that taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about where dialogue and sound effects and music come in. Basically, yeah, I don't know. I learned a lot about that. I learned a lot about that. Like sound. It's not. How do I put this? Like, sound should focus on what is being seen. Like if there's a noise happening in the scene, but it's not important to a moment, a small moment that is happening on camera, that noise, just let it fade into oblivion. And let's hear what's happening right now. And sound is like subjective. If somebody's whispering or talking softly, but that is the point, or that what they're saying is the heart of the scene, it can be loud. I'd have to think about this more to be able to put it into words, but it's like poetry, you know what I mean? You just gotta kind of feel it. When you're mixing sound, you just kind of feel it, what feels right. Sorry, that's not mixing, that's leveling. I did mix the sound though. I brought it all into Audition, and I kind of researched a lot of different ways people mix sound in Audition, and I kind of created like a hybrid way. But basically, with what does that do? That kind of compresses it. It kind of, makes it all even. Because that's the main thing. Like when you watch long form stuff on YouTube, you got to sit there with that volume, and you're just constant. Like think about when you watch like a Vine compilation on YouTube. You know what I'm talking about. Some of them are so fucking loud. It's like you're scrambling, turn that volume down. And that's like the easiest thing in the world. So anyways, and one thing, okay, never mind. So anyway, so that sound, and all that takes a really long time. So it's important to create deadlines for yourself. Not so you have a while you can procrastinate. But with the deadline, you're working every single day to reaching that point as the deadline's approaching. Don't procrastinate. And a lot of people told me, like, because I started reaching out to people after. I started reaching out to people about this after Shrekfest 2017. I was like, I want to show it on the live stream for 2018. And yeah, a lot of people told me like it just wasn't going to happen, because they're like, oh, I was part of this reanimated thing for like and it was like a 20-minute episode, but it took over 2 years to make, and we weren't even remaking the sound. But I don't get that, because each person is just doing a small part. Like, that's like a weekend project, honestly. But I didn't say that. I didn't want to be cocky. But now I'll say it. No, I'm just kidding. I did say it though. Yikes. Erase that. But the best thing I can say is just be a psychopath. Like, be fucking crazy. Like work on it how a crazy person would work on it. That's all I can say. You can't just kind of dip your toes in. You got to jump in. But you can do it. It's good. Okay, so let's keep talking. Oh, wow, that camera will not stay on. And I can see that the battery's about to die on me again. But, what else should I say about this? Shrek Retold is a fun project. I did a lot of interviews about it, so that's kind of what inspired me to make this video. Because I wanted to, because I just talked about it a lot. I'm like, I should make a video. This could be like a blueprint if somebody wants to do one. So if you make Shrek 2 Retold, prepare to fail, and then work up a portfolio for 5 years, and then try it again. It worked for me. I don't know. Just do it so there's something to do. And if you start it, you should finish it, especially people jumped on board, because how frustrating would that be to submit to a project and then it doesn't happen? And give yourself a deadline. Like, this stuff doesn't have to be perfect. Like, Shrek Retold isn't perfect by any means, but it's done. And that's huge. That's huge, right? For something to get done. Um, you, a lot of things just don't get done, huh? Especially in like the online art world. But Ja, is there anything else that I should say about this project? I know what else I wanted to say. Um, we our channel got completely demonetized on YouTube, and that's a problem that a lot of people have, and I don't really care because I never made very much on YouTube. Um, but we got copyright strikes on Shrek Retold, and like I think there was two. I think there might have been three. They recognized the beginning song, but it was a cover, so I don't know where that stands. But they didn't recognize it as cover. They recognized it as the original thing, and I'm like, it's not. And trust me, I've disputed these copyrights, and they said no, these copyrights still stand. You can dispute them again, but if we dismiss them again, then the video gets taken down. Well, if they dismiss the first claims like that, there we go. Then what's stopping them from dismissing it again, taking the video down? Just keep the video up. And they recognized It Is You I Have Loved as a cover. That's the last song in the credits. But then they recognized a random song in the remake as a completely different song, which was confusing to me. So it's like, fuck it, whatever. And then I got demonetized completely, so it's like, whatever. I don't care. Shrek Retold was never monetized to begin with. I didn't want to monetize it because people worked for free, so it didn't make sense it didn't make sense to profit on it because remember, it's just for fun. It's just for fun. That's the number one thing you gotta, and that helps you not get stressed out if a project is just for fun. You gotta keep reminding yourself about that. But we got completely demonetized, and they don't send you a message that you're demonetized or why, or with any explanation. You find out you're demonetized as you're looking through your settings. And then I read through their rules, and it says like you can't have copyrighted characters committing acts of violence, and we do a lot of that with Super Smash Tournament. So I think Super Smash is what got us demonetized. But we never had any strikes. I said we had copyright strikes. Those aren't strikes, those are claims. But we never got strikes. YouTube works on like a 3-strike system, and we never got a strike, and we got demonetized. So it just seemed like it came out of nowhere. But I think Super Smash got us demonetized, even though we're like Nintendo brand ambassadors. Nintendo knows what we're doing. I think they like it. I think it's like cool viral marketing for them. You know, we do stuff that they could never officially do, but it's like an edgy advertisement for Nintendo. I don't know. They know what we're doing. They just don't care. But YouTube is doing its own thing, whatever. As long as I can still upload stuff to YouTube and have people see it, that's all I care about. That's why I do YouTube. So yeah, that's how we made Shrek Retold. Now you can go make Shrek 2 Retold. There's a lot of people that want to participate in it. And I stand by what I said, where it's like anybody can do it. And I kind of told that to somebody else who worked on Shrek Retold, the first one. But he kind of was like, dude, you realize like now that you have Shrek Retold under your belt, you got to be the guy to do it. And I get that. But Sorry, I'm shivering. But it's like, I don't know. I wanna do something original. When people say I want to see Shrek 2 retold, I think what they're really saying is I want to see more. I want to see more from you guys. So, cool. Let's do more. Why not? It'll be fun. So, is there anything else that you should know? I don't think so. I think I talked about everything I want to talk about. Um, and then also with deadlines, be prepared for the majority of the people to miss the deadlines. I think I started reaching out to people at the beginning of 2018, and I told them that July is when I want everything in by. So I had all of July and all of August to edit all the pieces together. In retrospect, I needed longer to do the sound effects and everything and retiming pieces. Like that was a lot of work. So I'd probably want like 4 months for that. Um, but be prepared for the majority of people to miss that deadline. And a couple interesting things is when I first started reaching out to collaborators, the first person to respond to the email, this guy he sent me a cartoon he made. He's a animator. He sent me a cartoon where he animated me and then he animated him punching me and saying he accepted the job. And it was like just stick figures, and he wrote GD, which were my initials for me, and put on Shrek ears or something. And then he came in. It was like so cool. It was like the coolest way to accept the job. He never ended up delivering a piece, but it was a cool way to accept the job. But the first person to claim a scene was this guy. I think it was Joel. I think your name is Joel. But I'm like, I think even before he saw the list of scene breakdowns, I was like, hey, do you want to go on this project? Blah, blah. He's like, yep, I want to do this shot. I want to do the reaction shot of the Shrek nut shot or something. Or crotch shot. When Shrek is sliding down the banister and he hits his crotch and it's his face, he knew right away he wanted to do that part. That part was like fresh in his mind. So he did that part, and he was the first to submit his piece. So Joel, not only were you the first person to pick which scene you wanted to do, or rather shot, you were the first person to submit it. And the last person to submit their scene was Nolan. Nolan, you broke. You know how I did 4 strikes, you're out? You had like 16 strikes, but I like you so much, I gave you an extension after extension after extension. You were the last scene I plugged in there. Nolan did the part where the magic mirror, where Jimmy Kimmel, it's not Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Farquaad is on the magic mirror, but it's like a computer. So that part was really funny. So good job, Nolan. So yeah, that's Shrek 2. Sorry, Shrek Retold. And like I said, I mentioned briefly that there were certain scenes I reserved, and what that means is there's like 1 or 2 scenes that I like set aside because I knew there was like wish list people in mind that I wanted to participate. The number 1 wish list person was Chris Chan, whom I eventually got. And that was really difficult. Maybe I should address that because a lot of people ask, how'd you get Christian Chandler? And that was really difficult because there was like, at the time, there was no way to message her. All I could do was tweet at her, but of course that got lost. But I noticed there was this dude who was was illustrating a comic about Christine's life. And Christine loved it and was retweeting it. So I'm like, this guy has a rapport with Christine. I'm going to get this guy on board to do a scene and then ask him to get Christine on board. So he did a scene, and it was the motion comic scene. You know what I'm talking about. It turned out really cool. So good job, Brian. Brian Stickley. I'll give him a plug. I think it's Stickley, right? Or is it Shickley? I think Stickly from Nickelodeon. You know what I'm talking about? Anyways, so he jumped on board, and then he got Christine on board, and Christine did the cartoons or did the illustrations. I asked her to watch the scene and do a voiceover, narrate what's happening, and then draw pictures. Draw like 3 pictures of Shrek, 3 pictures of Donkey, 3 pictures of Lord Farquaad, and then a picture of the knights. And then I took those pictures, scans of them, and then I put them into Photoshop, and I separated the characters from the backgrounds, and then kind of animated it and put it to Christine's narration. So that's how that part got done. Another part I reserved was Hallelujah for David Liebehart. He's the guy with the puppets. And those puppets, I spent an all-nighter making those puppets. My original plan was to send all the pieces. Okay, here's the deal. We couldn't get David Liebehart on board for the longest time because his manager Jonah was not like traveling with him, and we thought maybe if David was in like Milwaukee or in Chicago at some point that we could film something with them, but he wasn't going to be in town, so we couldn't film with him, and Jonah wasn't able to. But then at the last minute, Jonah's like, hey, I'm actually going to be seeing David, and I'm like, if I send you puppets, could you film this part with them? And he's like, yep. So I spent an all-nighter figuring out how to make these puppets, went to the hardware store and craft store, bought some supplies. I think it cost $100 total to make those 4 puppets, Shrek, Fiona, Donkey, and Dragon. But I only finished the Shrek one in time. The sun came up, I only had the Shrek one done. Like, okay, this is the one I'm going to send. I sent that. I went to Goodwill, bought a suit, put that all in a cardboard box, taped it up, and I had to do overnight shipping, and it cost like $350. And I'm like, oh my God. But I had to do it. So I sent that puppet to him, and David sang with the puppet. I sent him a karaoke track. And then this band I know, Dumb Fidelity, they did some other parts for Shrek. They did some other songs for Shrek Retold. And they did like a version of... I had to change the battery. I also grabbed some stuff. Alright, so Dumb Fidelity did the music. And then David Liebehart was just singing along with karaoke. And that's why I had the earpiece in, or the headphones. And then, and that's why he was looking down, because he's actually singing along with it. I felt bad asking him to do a song that he didn't know, and expecting him to sing it, but he nailed it. Dave Liebehart, he's the man. But yeah, these are the puppets I made. And as you can see, I just got some hardware and made like a little pulley. And there's a thing in the mouth with a rubber band. So there's just string that just pulls it down. Yeah. And I try to make them look like kind of retro puppets. And retro puppets have like blush and red lipstick. Red lips, I should say. And they have these like cartoon eyes. So I don't know. Yeah, that's that. And then here's and then the puppet parts for that part, I just filmed like, actually right here is the part with Donkey in that, because I want to tell the emotion of that. Then here's one of the Christine Chandler pictures. I had them framed, they're on my wall. My proudest possessions. But yeah. Oh, I put the camera too low now. Whatever. So, I could talk about Shrek Retold forever. Actually not. I think I ran out of things to say. But yeah, there were certain scenes that I had reserved. And then another one of them was for Broken Pixels. They did the Robin Hood scene. Although Robin Hood in Shrek is called Monsieur Hood, that I don't get. Maybe Robin Hood is like copywritten. Even though, isn't it just like, is Robin Hood not a fairy tale? but it's not historical information either. How is it copywritten? I don't get it. Maybe it's not. Maybe this. I don't know. Anyways, they did that part, and I knew that it would lend itself well to a rap, and that's what they do, and it worked really well. It was cool. I hope I answered any questions that people may have, and I hope I inspired somebody to make Shrek 2 Retold, or just make any movie retold. I get a lot of suggestions for things like B movie retold, but I don't know if that would work. I've never seen B movie. I have no interest in seeing it. I think Shrek. It's like we did. I can't imagine doing it with another movie. We did Shrek. That's the best one. And the thing with Shrek 2 is, I think I've said before that Shrek 2 is a funnier movie, but that doesn't mean anything when you're doing these retold things, because people kind of make up their own gags and stuff. It's all about the story, and I think Shrek 1 is such a nice, concise story. It's so self-contained, and it's easy. It's an easy enough plot to understand. People say you should watch. Some people say you should watch Shrek before you watch Shrek Retold. I think you can watch Shrek Retold without watching Shrek at all. I think it stands. As a film. I'm cold. But what else should I say about Shrek? I don't know. That's that. Go make your own. I'd say the number one thing I learned about this project is the importance of momentum. Keep momentum going. The second you email somebody, that's when the momentum starts. So always be emailing, stay on top of your emails, always have crazy positive energy for the project, and that shouldn't be a problem if you do feel passionately about the project. So just let your passion show through in everything you do, and just keep that momentum going. Don't let the momentum die. Keep it going. Keep it going. And always be messaging people, because it's managing a team, and it's a really big team. Woodpecker. Oh, I see him. And yeah, that's the story of Shrek Retold. All right, I guess I'm gonna pack it up. I look forward to seeing more projects. I hope I inspired other people to do projects like this, or to do anything really. Like, the purpose of Shrek Retold was to make the kind of entertainment that I want to see, because I think there's a lot of awesome people online, and I wanted Shrek Retold to feel like you were just watching like an hour and a half of YouTube, which is what it is. It's an hour and a half of stuff on YouTube, but it's like all this stuff, all the people that I want to see in a film, and it's a lot of like internet people. You know what I mean? I don't watch a lot of movies and TV. I watch a lot of internet. Is that weird? I don't think so. All right. Well, guys, thank you for listening. Let's do a secret message so I can see who actually watched this full thing. So, the 19th word, what is... What I was saying, go back and count the 19th word I said in this video, and it might be something stupid like the 19th and the 13th word that I said in this video. Include both those words in your comment, and I'll know that you actually watched the whole video. Other than that, I guess I'll do some plugs for the Patreon, the 3GI Patreon. I want to make more stuff like this, like films. I don't know. I want to make more films and stuff, and I have some ideas. If you're in the Discord at all, you know what those ideas are. Also, join the Discord. I love it. I love Discord. I made it, like I said, I made it for Shrek Retold, but then I made like a 3GI one. So join the 3GI Discord. I'd love to talk to you in there. And join the Patreon. And that's the surefire way to be involved with the next thing we do. What is going to be the next thing we do? I don't know. But get involved. Join the Patreon. Just $1 a month. And you're going to see a lot of exclusive stuff. And you'll be involved with the next project. Because even for $5 a month, you get your names in the credits of everything. I'll probably do credits on this. So there you go. You'll see the patrons in there. I'm so cold. All right. I think we can wrap it up. I'm so worried that I'm going to pack it up. I'm going to put everything inside, and then I'm going to remember like one more piece of information I should have given. But I think that is enough. So take this information and do something cool. That's it. All right, time to pack it up. I think actually I'm going to enjoy the rest of my tea. So if you don't mind, we'll just kind of chill. We're going to finish my tea, or the camera's going to shut off. Whichever comes first. We'll see. I hope you're not too disappointed that there wasn't actually Shrek 2 retold. But you knew there wasn't. You knew there was no, it was too quick of a turnaround from the first one. And it's April Fool's Day, so you knew, you were suspicious, to say the least. I don't think I talked about the parts that we did, 3GI. We did the beginning and the end. So the beginning with the storybook, where the storybook opens, and I'm really proud. I think we did good on that part, because like we used that as an opportunity to explain that this is a remake of the movie Shrek. So I thought that was clever. It's kind of meta. And then we had Shrek break out of the outhouse and stuff. And my buddies Kevin and Peter, Peter, his stage name is Phony. But they did that song, the All-Star cover, which was really good. Smash Mouth even retweeted it. They liked it. I've been trying to get Smash Mouth to come to Shrekfest for like the past couple of years. And I've been like talking to their agents and managers, but we just can't get it work. Basically, we would need to hold Shrekfest somewhere where you would charge admission, but I really don't want to charge admission for Shrekfest. So, yeah, it's just, it's not in the cards for the time being. We'll see. But yeah, they did a really good job on that All-Star cover. It's great. And then the ending part we did with the I'm a Believer cover. That song was done by Hot Dad. And we didn't really have any ideas for the ending, but as soon as we heard that song, we were like, okay, it's got to be 80s. And then we got that cool car. That was TW. He's in the credits as car coordinator. He gave us the keys to this car and he said, "All right, return it by midnight." And we're like, "Okay." Um, so then Rebecca did played Fiona in that part, and she also, I should say, Rebecca did the part with Farquaad. Um, she like did all these watercolors, paintings, and then cut them out, and did the part where Farquaad is torturing the gingerbread, and she did the voices for all the characters. I think that turned out really cool. I like. Shout out to you, Rebecca. And then Mike Berg, comedian friend of ours, played Shrek in the in that end scene. And we did. It was such a small crew, and when I say small crew, it was Rebecca, Mike, playing the characters on screen, and then me with the camera. And we drove around Milwaukee for like probably a half hour trying to find a spot to film, because with this camera that I use, the T3i, you need a lot of light. Like, I'm outside right now, but I have 2 lights on me right now. Just because, I don't know, these DSLR cameras like need a lot of light. So we filmed in front of this church on the east side, and it had all these lights outside. So we're like, okay, that'll light you up. That'll light you up good enough. And then we shot those parts. Then when we got in the car, it was so dark. I think I had my phone with the flashlight on, shining it on them while I'm also filming with the camera. That was so hard. And like Mike could not fit in the driver's seat for some reason. So actually Rebecca was driving and Mike was pretending to drive. And I just flipped the footage. So Rebecca's trying to act like she's chilling, but actually she's like trying to focus on the road. And then a lot of the shots was me running outside the car, like filming into it. It was like, we made it work though. I said I didn't have anything more to talk about, but I guess I lied. So then we filmed the scenes where Eric is singing to the song, which is weird because Hot Dad did the music, but that sounds exactly like Eric, like if you know Eric. So a lot of people thought that was him singing. But then we just shot that in the basement. We were actually going to go to a bar. We were actually going to go to Mad Planet and just steal shots there of him on stage. And we were going to put in like an earpiece so he's singing along to Believer. Just because we wanted that environment. But we're like, you know what? It's too difficult. We might get kicked out right away. Getting kicked out is never an issue, but if you get kicked out before you get the footage that you need, then it's an issue. So we just filmed we just filmed here in the basement, and that worked. It looked great. Oh yeah, and then the credits were I actually wrote those out by hand. I had a kind of like a complicated system where I wrote out all the names on the pieces of paper, and I had it on a roll, and then I had that roll going across a table, and I slowly pulled it, and each piece of paper was numbered, and I had a timer going, and I had on the timer on my phone, I knew that at this mark I should be on this piece of paper. So I'm pulling it while I'm making sure that I'm reaching, so I'm on a steady roll, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, I should be on page 5 now. Okay, good. You know what I mean? And it sucked because, as you can see, this camera keeps shutting off. So I had to do it a ton of times. Before I could get through all the credits perfectly timed up without that camera shutting off. That's annoying. And it was actually just white paper with black marker, and I just inverted it. So it was black background with white text. Because I didn't know how to do it any other way. Like, I could get black paper. I had black construction paper, But black construction paper doesn't look that black. It looks like gray. And then how would I use paint? White paint, that would take too long. It's just easier to do black marker on white and then invert it. But then it means all the illustrations in the credits also had to be invert colors. So that means you're not drawing an outline. I'm using marker to fill in, but I don't draw an outline because the outline's the white paper that's going to turn black. But the markers bleed a lot. It was hard to do those drawings. But it turned out cool. I think it's got a cool look. And then we did the DreamWorks logo in the beginning, and that was really difficult to figure out the thing with the reflection. You know what I'm talking about? You can see the reflection of the guy on the onion. Or the reflection of the onion, because it's a parody of the DreamWorks with the moon. So yeah, we figured it out. It's so peaceful out here. Alright, tea's done. Goodbye, everybody.